I'll start with my queer identity. As like a lot of people who spoke before me, uh, I grew up in a very religious background. Most people say that like their parents or their grandparents or however were the reasons why they were in church, but it really was me. I used to bring my parents to church. And a lot of us understand that there is a lot of data that shows that people with rare diseases, chronic diseases turn to faith and religion as a coping mechanism. So I really think that's really what it was as a child. It was an outlet for me, honestly. I didn't feel, because I was way sicker as a child, my identity in church was the only place I felt validated or seen or appreciated as a child. But also that came with the fact that I grew up in a very Pentecostal environment. And if anyone knows about like Pentecostal Christians, like almost everything sends you to hell. And so like my grandmother didn't have her ears pierced because she thought it was going to send her to hell kind of thing. And so, of course, naturally, if you are LGBTQ, you're also going to hell. And so that kind of shaped my view about how I identify. And so, as we said before, trying to manage our emotions. But for years, whether I knew it or not, I was trying to pray the gay away, or I was in denial. And so that really shapes how you identify as an adult. And so I didn't come out until I was 31 years old, which was only 4 years ago, after the pandemic. And I ended up moving away. In a PhD program. So I moved away from a city, a state that I had lived in for over 15 years. I was active in ministry. I was a licensed minister. And I moved away for my graduate program. And I was like, you know what? There's nothing for me to lose anymore. No one can control me. No one can, quote unquote, hold me accountable for how I identify. And so I made the decision to come out. Um, and it was one of the best things I've ever done, because I felt like I was lying to myself for most of my life. And so now that I'm on the other side of that, I'm very grateful. And then about me, I am a PhD student. I'm a fourth year PhD student at the University of Houston, studying social work. And my dissertation that I'm working on currently, I'm working on the proposal, is on priapism in sickle cell, which is an unwanted erection, painful erection in men. And so I mentioned that because I think it's important that this conversation is happening, because for all of the years that I've been an advocate in sickle cell and rare disease, I can't remember any time that sexual health, sexual identity, sexual orientation was even mentioned. And a lot of the work that I've done so far really tries to highlight the fact that that is inherently one-dimensional, whether it's implicit or explicit, to assume that people who have a rare disease or a chronic disease are not having sex, are not sexual beings, don't have a sexual identity or orientation. So we're really treated in a heteronormative framework or perspective as the default. And, I go back to what Nate and Corey and some other people said, like that impacts our healthcare, because for me, I wanted to get on PrEP, but none of the doctors that were seeing me, we have sickle cell specific PCPs, primary care physicians. None of them knew what PrEP was, right? And so in order to be someone who wanted to be safe and take care of their sexual health with a rare disease, it's hard when people don't know those intersections. So I again, as everyone underscored, I think this is a wonderful conversation. So that's what kind of fueled me into my graduate research. I lived in the closet for 30 years. I'm not going back. And so, uh, however you feel about my identity at this point, I don't even care anymore because I've had to suppress who I was for 31 years. And so the next 31 years and beyond, I plan on living out and proud, and also keeping my pride with my rare disease.